Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Today's story's for anyone who's ever had a neighbor from hell, the kind who thinks their 2 a.m. party playlist is a public service and that your walls are just gentle suggestions. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Party all night? Not without a little remix from yours truly. So I have this neighbor, let's call him Dave, who has somehow made it his life's mission to be the human equivalent of a car alarm that never shuts off. From the day he moved in, he made sure the entire block knew he had a speaker system capable of shaking windows, and he loved to show it off. Not during the day when people are awake, mind you. No, Dave waits until 1 a.m. to turn his living room into Coachella. At first, I did the reasonable thing. I knocked on his door, I spoke to him calmly, and I explained that his nightly DJ sets were keeping me up and making it hard for me to function at work. He laughed, then said, and I quote, "Not my fault you're a light sleeper, bro." I'm not his bro. So I gave it another week. Maybe he was just going through a phase. Maybe he'd get bored. Maybe karma would step in. Spoiler alert, it didn't. If anything, he got worse. Now, it wasn't just late-night music. It was full-blown parties with screaming guests, bass-heavy music vibrating through my walls, and the occasional vomiting stranger outside my door. I finally snapped on the night he posted on social media about hosting the biggest banger of the summer. That's when I decided if Dave wanted to play stupid games, he was going to win a stupid prize. The night of the party, I watched from my living room window as cars started rolling in and people filed into his place like it was a frat house. As predicted, the music ramped up to its usual earthquake levels, but this time I was ready. I'd spent the day curating the most obnoxious playlist known to man. Think wailing baby cries, ambulance sirens, dog howling loops, and an air horn sound effect that sounded like a foghorn mated with a dying goose. I connected it to my portable Bluetooth speaker, one of those rugged camping ones that can reach small concert levels of volume, and positioned it right outside his bedroom window in the shared yard. Then I let it rip. The baby scream started first, followed by the high-pitched whine of a smoke detector going off every 10 seconds. Then came the crescendo, a back-to-back loop of a fire truck siren and an air horn. Full volume. It wasn't just loud, it was disorienting, like trying to fall asleep in the middle of Times Square on New Year's Eve. The chaos that erupted was everything I'd hoped for and more. His guests started wandering outside, looking confused. Someone yelled, "Who brought a baby?" Others were just laughing, trying to figure out where the noise was coming from. And then Dave burst out of his back door in a rage. He spotted me sitting calmly on my porch with a beer in hand, grinning like the pretty gremlin I had become. "Are you serious right now?" he shouted. I just raised my beer and said, "Sorry, Dave, I just couldn't sleep with all this noise." A few of his guests laughed. One even patted me on the back like I just executed a perfect touchdown play. Dave, beat red with embarrassment, stomped back into the house. The music came down. The crowd started thinning out. Within 20 minutes, the biggest banger of the summer had fizzled into an awkward group of 5 people half-heartedly bobbing their heads to lo-fi beats on low volume. Since that night, Dave's been a lot quieter. Oh, he still plays music, but never past 10, and never loud enough to shake my windows. He hasn't said a word to me, and honestly, I prefer it that way. Was it petty? Absolutely. Was it immature? Maybe. Was it the most satisfying thing I've done all year? Without a doubt. Sometimes the only language people like Dave understand is a dose of their own medicine, preferably played through an industrial speaker system at max volume. "Not my fault you're a light sleeper, bro." That line alone practically begs for karmic retribution. You gave him exactly what he was dishing out, just with more creativity and less vomit. And our second story asked me about plant prices. Didn't like that I'm just a customer too. Last week I went to a flower shop with my mom to buy some plants and supplies since I'm decorating my room and we're improving our garden. In this shop, most plants are outside in the sun, and you can get a small container and put all plants you want to buy inside, then go inside the store to pay. All the plants have names and tags with the price, and this is one of the oldest flower shops in the city. It's also the cheapest. That's why we shop there. My mom had ran into an old friend when she went to pay for the plant she chose, and I knew she was going to take some time to go back to the car, so I decided to continue looking at the plants outside to buy more for my bedroom. I was dressed in casual clothes, just jeans and a black shirt, not at all similar to the yoga pants and white t-shirts with the name of the store all the staff was wearing. It's summer here. I was the only one outside, and I was holding the container I was going to put the plants into to take inside, but I wanted to take my time to research each plant and know how to care for it before buying. I'm mentioning this because I want you to understand that I absolutely did not look like I worked there. Suddenly, a woman approached and started looking at the tags in each plant. I didn't take a good look at her since I was focused on my phone while I searched how to care for dumb cane plants, but she seemed to be older than 35 and younger than 50. I'm not good at guessing ages. I heard her say, "Is this the price for the desert rose? That's so expensive." But I didn't look at her because if she wasn't talking to me, I didn't want to intrude, and if she was talking to me, I'm autistic, so I don't understand small talk, nor do I know how to do it, so I don't engage in it. She made a few other comments about the price of the plants, but I just stopped listening to focus on my phone. A few minutes passed, and I gave up on buying the dumb cane plant because I would have to buy a big pot and support for it, and I didn't have that money at the moment, so I move on to get some herbs that were missing in our garden when I heard, "How much is this?" Again, I ignored it, mainly because I didn't work there, but there's no response for a few seconds. When I look back, she's looking at me mildly annoyed while holding a plant. I say, "I don't know, I don't work here," and turn back around. I heard her say, "Oh, okay," and just stand there. I chose my herbs and went inside to pay while she was still outside holding the plant and looking around as if waiting for something. That was when I realized that she was being rude talking about the price of the plants while thinking I worked there. The audacity. Thinking of this made me very annoyed, but nothing that I could do there. After paying, I went outside to put everything in the car, and she had left without the plant. I don't know why, but Karen's publicly complaining about prices is like the weakest strategy to try and get some kind of discount. And our next story. Karen demanded service, grandma energy ended the whole conversation. I was explaining Karen to my grandmother, and this was the only story I could think of to use as an example. I used to work retail. When I worked there, my manager and I would hide products when they were marked down for regulars that we liked. We had a regular who was this sweet older woman that I would totally adopt as my third grandma. We call her Gigi. I'd stopped in to chat with my former manager. While she was helping another customer, Gigi came in. I went to help her and talk to her. She was a retired teacher and liked to ask about my classes even though we taught very different ages. I'm checking hiding spaces for her and carrying her basket, so I kind of get where Karen's coming from. However, I'm wearing leggings and my school's homecoming shirt, so I'm not at all dressed appropriately. At this point, though, we're done shopping, but manager's using the fact that I'm chatting with Gigi to continue helping the earlier customer, and I draw the line at getting behind the register for free. Karen must have seen me helping Gigi and that we were no longer moving around the store to come over to us and said, "Now that you're done with her, you can help me." This is where I had to explain to my grandma that what makes a Karen is entitlement. Even if I had worked there, I clearly hadn't wrung Gigi's items yet when she demanded my attention. I don't work here. You were helping her. Yes, her. I don't work here. You obviously know your way around here, so just help me. At this point, I'm pretty sure that I looked at her, looked at myself, and then looked at manager, presumably with the "what are you doing" expression generally reserved for my students. Now, with the superpower only elementary school teachers have, Gigi looked at Karen and sternly said, "OP doesn't work here. Manager does. Now stand over there and wait your turn." And Karen did. I decided it was time to leave, so I helped Gigi carry her stuff out after manager rung her up. Later, I had to tell manager the rest of the story. I love everything about this little scene. Your loyalty to Gigi, the unflappable teacher voice that put Karen in her place, and the way you slipped out before anyone could draft you into unpaid register duty. There's something especially satisfying about watching an entitled shopper run headfirst into an elementary school teacher's "I said what I said" tone. And our last story. You don't even use it. Karen's logic for trespassing ended with cops and handcuffs. So here's a little story that happened recently, and honestly, it still blows my mind how entitled people can be. I, 29-year-old female, don't have any kids, but my younger sister, 16, has been living with me for about 10 years. Over the years, we've kept a trampoline in our back garden, which was a big deal when my sister was younger. She loved it, and it became part of the backyard life for us. Enter the new neighbors. A couple of months ago, a family of 4 kids moved in next door, and of course, they decided they needed to make themselves at home in a way that was a little too comfortable for my liking. From the get-go, the kids would play outside all day, which, fine, I have no issue with that. Kids will be kids. But the problem started when they asked me if they could use my trampoline one day. At first, I was like, sure, for a little while. I've got friends coming over for drinks, so they can't stay long. That seemed reasonable enough, right? Well, after 3 hours of jumping around, I had to ask them to leave because my friends had shown up and we were about to get the drinks flowing. Cue the tears, cue the tantrums. They were upset, which again is fine. I understand kids get attached to fun things. But when their mom, let's call her Karen, popped her head out the window to ask if they could stay longer, I said no. I'm not their personal babysitter. This was my garden, my trampoline, and my space, and it was time for them to go. Of course, Karen wasn't thrilled, but she dropped it after a while. Fast forward to the next week. I come home to find all 4 kids and their cousin playing on the trampoline again without me even being there. So I do the right thing and ask them to leave, explaining that you can't just waltz into my yard whenever you feel like it. They refuse to go, so I call up to Karen and tell her to get her kids out of my yard. She gives me some nonsense about how they should be allowed to play because I don't even use it. I tell her it's still not her yard, and no, they're not staying. Then we get into an argument. She starts shouting at me, calling me a bee, and that I'm being unreasonable for not letting her kids play in my yard. At this point, I've had enough. I told her, don't ask again. The answer is no. It was clear she didn't take me seriously because 2 days later, I see her kids waiting for me to move my car so they can sneak into my yard again. So I got fed up. I put a lock on the trampoline. It was a small lock, just enough to make it harder for them to get in. It was petty, sure, but at this point, I was getting sick of the constant disrespect. The cherry on top came when it was Saturday morning and I was looking forward to a nice, quiet, long lie-in. At 9 a.m., Karen sent her kids out with breakfast bars and water bottles straight into my garden. I could hear them from my window, and I wasn't having it. I shouted down at them to leave. Before I could even get downstairs, Karen was already trying to scale the fence between our gardens, yelling that I had no right to stop her kids and that she was going to call the police on me for harassing her kids and allegedly hitting them. Of course, I wasn't about to let her make these outrageous claims. I calmly told her to call the cops, and I made sure to mention that I had video footage on my Ring camera. And bonus, I had footage of her husband picking the lock on the trampoline to let the kids play on it. Her face went pale. The police eventually came, and after hearing the full story and seeing the footage, Karen's husband got arrested for theft, criminal damage, and breaking and entering. It turns out picking locks and trying to use someone else's property without permission doesn't go down well with the law. But I wasn't done yet. After all the drama, I decided it was time to take things into my own hands. I grabbed a knife and slashed the trampoline's jumping surface. It wasn't even about the trampoline anymore. It was about teaching them a lesson about boundaries. My brother's coming by soon to help me dismantle it, and we're taking it to the local recycling center. Karen and her kids won't be bothering me again. And honestly, slashing the trampoline, right move. You can't have it if I can't enjoy it in peace. You gave them more than enough chances to respect basic boundaries. They didn't listen. Now they can explain to the cops and their kids why consequences exist. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.